Google officially kills the traditional search engine to make way for autonomous agents. SpaceX prepares to buy the coding startup Cursor for $60 billion, and rumors swirl of an imminent OpenAI IPO. Welcome to today's Daily Rundown. I am your host, Anna. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer from Université Laval, based in Calgary, Alberta. Today, we perform a forensic autopsy on the hardware Ultimatum and the Agentic pivot this Wednesday, May 20th, 2026. The era of typing queries into a search box is officially over. At its flagship I/O developer conference, Google announced the biggest redesign in its history, replacing traditional search with an intelligent, generative UI powered by the new Gemini 3.5 Flash model. Furthermore, Google is deploying Gemini Spark, a 24/7 personal agent designed to operate autonomously across your entire enterprise workspace. Simultaneously, the capital markets are bracing for a historic collision. Fresh off its legal victory against Elon Musk, reports indicate OpenAI is preparing for an IPO that could drop within days. But Musk is striking back, as SpaceX plans to acquire the AI coding startup Cursor for an astonishing $60 billion, signaling that whoever controls the autonomous coding layer will dictate the future of software. Before we dive into the data, I have a brief strategic request. The algorithms governing the app you're listening on right now dictate what intelligence reaches your feed. To ensure you never miss our most critical forensic autopsies, please hit follow or subscribe to the DJAMGAMIND channel on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely ads-free. It takes just 1 second, but it is the most effective way to help us scale this independent research. Let's unravel the day.
Before we begin today's briefing, a note for the brands listening. If you want to reach the true architects of the AI revolution, the technical leaders actually building the stack, not just the tourists, DJAMGAMIND offers select premium partnership opportunities. Let us position your product directly in front of the ultimate technical buyer. Visit jamgamind.com/partners.
So imagine going to sleep in a world where artificial intelligence is essentially just this highly efficient, very smart librarian.
Right. You walk up to the desk, type in a query, and get your book.
Exactly. You ask for a specific thing, you get that specific thing. But then you wake up the very next morning, and that librarian has suddenly, become an autonomous CEO.
Yeah, a CEO who is running the entire library, has locked the front doors, and is actively buying up all the publishers.
It's wild. But that is the exact paradigm shift we are looking at today. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to essentially put on our forensic business strategy hats and do a holistic autopsy on the massive news cycle of May 20th, 2026.
And if you just take today's headlines in isolation, they might just look like a standard, really busy day in tech.
Right, just another Tuesday.
Exactly. But when you zoom out, you realize we are witnessing a complete rewiring of digital labor, what we are calling the agentic pivot and the hardware ultimatum.
The hardware ultimatum. I love that term.
Yeah, well, the industry is violently ripping up the whole foundation of conversational chatbots. They are pivoting hard to hardware-embedded autonomous agents.
So we're going to dissect these massive capital shifts today.
Yeah.
We're looking at how these supposedly, helpful agents are fundamentally rewriting enterprise infrastructure, digital rights, and really the core concept of how code is even written.
Yeah, and we have to start at ground zero for this pivot, which is obviously Google I/O.
Oh, absolutely. The announcements out of Mountain View are just sweeping. I mean, the traditional search bar, the one you, me, and billions of other people have used for the last 25 years, is officially dead.
It's gone.
It's being entirely replaced by an intelligent search box.
And you have to consider the actual mechanics of what they're doing here, because it's both brilliant and completely terrifying engineering.
Right.
They are rolling out this concept called generative UI. So in the past, when you searched for something, Google's algorithm was basically a card catalog, right?
Yeah. Fetching pre-existing HTML pages. Just lists of blue links that someone else built.
Exactly. But with generative UI, the search engine isn't fetching anymore. It is literally acting as a real-time software engineer.
Wow.
So Gemini 3.5 Flash interprets your intent and instantly writes the code to render a completely bespoke interactive widget directly on your screen.
I'm going to pause on Gemini 3.5 Flash for a second, actually, because looking at the raw specs, it isn't necessarily, blowing the absolute top-tier frontier models out of the water.
No, it's not a god model.
Right, it's nearing models like Opus 4.7 or GPT 5.5 on some benchmarks. But the kicker is the efficiency. It's generating outputs at like 4 times the speed and half the cost of their previous models.
Which tells you literally everything you need to know about Google's underlying strategy here.
Oh, totally.
They do not need this model to solve the mysteries of the universe. They just need it to be fast, cheap, and near frontier so they can deploy it to billions of users at the exact same time.
Because that cost efficiency is the only way they could afford to launch the real star of the show, which is Gemini Spark.
Yes, Gemini Spark is where the librarian truly becomes the CEO.
Right. For those who missed it, this is a 247 personal agent running continuously on Google Cloud virtual machines.
It never sleeps.
Never sleeps. And it takes autonomous actions across your entire Google workspace. So it's inside your Chrome browser, your email, your chat, your docs.
You don't even have to prompt it every single time you need something.
Exactly. It's just running in the background, executing tasks based on your habits.
If you take that a step further, you start to see the walls of the garden being built.
Oh, the walled garden is getting very high.
Seriously. We're moving from a browsing-first web where you explore independent websites to an agent-first walled garden. Just look at how they handled the anti-gravity 2.0 situation at I.O.
Oh man, the zombie acquisition. This backstory is so wild to me.
It really is.
So for context, Anti-Gravity was this agentic development platform originally built by a startup called Codium, which I think later went by Windsurf.
Right, Windsurf.
And they were this massive threat to competitors like Cursor. But then, out of nowhere, Google swoops in and drops $2.4 billion.
But they didn't even buy the company outright, which is the crazy part.
Right. They just executed a licensing agreement and poached the CEO, Varun Mohan, along with most of the engineering team.
They effectively gutted the startup from the inside out. They left behind this ghost ship of a corporate shell.
Which was quickly scooped up by Scott Wu at Cognition, right?
Exactly. But Google absorbed the actual brain trust, and now we see the result of that absorption at I.O., Anti-Gravity 2.0. Google added a CLI, an SDK, and a standalone desktop app.
Let's break those acronyms down real quick for anyone who hasn't stared at a developer screen all day. A CLI, or command line interface, is that raw text-only terminal where engineers type direct commands to the computer.
Right, the matrix screen.
The matrix screen, exactly. And an SDK is a software development kit.
Yep.
Basically a prepackaged box of digital Lego bricks that lets developers build applications for a specific platform.
Precisely. And by embedding an AI agent directly into the CLI and providing that SDK, Google is, they're bypassing the web browser entirely. They're building a front door to AI capabilities right at the deepest, most foundational level of the developer's environment.
It's brilliant. But if we take a highly cynical view here, this death of traditional search has massive implications for how information is consumed by everyday people.
Oh, absolutely. But just look at the capital flowing into companies like Exa Labs.
Right. Exa Labs just raised $250 million at a $2.2 billion valuation. And that was led by Andreessen Horowitz.
And their entire business model is building a search engine optimized for AI agents, not for humans.
That's the part that trips me up.
Well, the search results are delivered entirely via API. So an API, or application programming interface, is just the invisible language that allows two pieces of software to talk to each other. No screen or user interface needed.
Right.
And Exa's CEO is actually predicting that AI agents will use search engines more than humans do for the very first time in 2026.
I mean, I have to ask the obvious question here. If my search engine is now just an autonomous agent synthesizing data via some invisible API, aren't we just trading our access to a diverse, messy web of human sources for a single, heavily curated truth?
Yes.
Because if I never actually see the source websites, I am completely at the mercy of whatever reality Gemini 3.5 Flash decides to generate into a widget for me.
And that is the core danger of the agentic pivot. You are no longer an explorer of the web. You are a consumer of a synthesized reality fed to you by a cloud-based agent.
That is terrifying.
The internet is basically being demoted to a read-only database for AI models, and you, the human user, are completely isolated from the actual creators of that information.
Wow. And honestly, the sheer operational nightmare of what we just discussed is spinning my head.
Yeah.
So if Gemini Spark is running 24/7 on Google Cloud VMs, taking autonomous actions across your emails, docs, and entire workflow, how on earth does a business actually manage and secure that without it turning into utter chaos?
It's a huge problem.
When tech giants like Google are deploying 247 autonomous agents to operate across your entire software ecosystem, It is clear that running an enterprise requires serious management infrastructure. We want to thank our sponsor, ARAA, for making today's briefing possible. ARAA provides the enterprise-grade AI management platform that organizations need to govern autonomous agents and turn raw AI potential into measurable, secure workflow automation. You can find their link in the show notes.
You know, that management problem you just highlighted leads directly to a massive physical limitation.
Okay, how so?
Well, these autonomous agents, no matter how smart they are in the cloud, are fundamentally blind and deaf if they are tracked inside desktop browsers and virtual machines.
Oh, right.
For an agent to actually function as a true, omnipresent personal assistant, it needs a physical interface. It needs to perceive the real world around you.
So if Google is trapping us in this digital walled garden on our laptops, they need a way to follow us when we close the screen and walk outside.
Exactly. Which brings us to the hardware ultimatum.
Right. And Google's massive teaser at I.O. for their new Intelligent Eyewear. They announced partnerships with Warby Parker and General Monster for the frames, and Samsung is handling the internal hardware.
And crucially, they are launching these this fall as an audio-first product.
Right. And the spec sheet on these glasses is incredibly telling. We are talking about embedded cameras, localized microphones, over-ear speakers, and live translation.
Yeah, you tap the frame or say a wake word, and Gemini is immediately analyzing your environment.
They even teased that feature called nano banana editing.
Which is just a playful name for their Gemini Omni model, taking all these varied ambient inputs like audio, visual, location, and turning them into coherent video outputs.
But here is where I really struggle with this strategy. They are explicitly choosing to go audio first right now, meaning there's no visual display inside the lenses. You can't see a screen.
Right. The display-equipped version, Project Aura with X-Real, is still in development.
Exactly. So isn't an audio-first pair of smart glasses just a glorified Bluetooth headset strapped to some expensive plastic frames? I mean, why is this a game changer?
It might feel like just a headset to the user, but from a data gathering perspective, it is a Trojan horse.
Oh.
Google is watching Meta completely dominate this emerging space with their Ray-Ban smart glasses. The tech giants have realized that the stickiest ecosystem of the next decade isn't going to be the one with the best desktop software.
It's the one that literally sits on your face.
Yes. By capturing your audio and your visual field in real time, they tether your physical reality directly to their digital agent.
Oh, wow.
This isn't about giving you a screen to look at. It is a massive land grab for continuous ambient AI surveillance of human perception.
Okay, let's pull back and look at the sheer scale of the infrastructure required for this. Because if these audio-first glasses are the physical shell, and cloud-based agents like Gemini Spark are the brain.
Who is building a nervous system, right?
Exactly. Who is actually writing the millions of micro-applications needed to glue all of this together? Human fingers physically cannot type fast enough to sustain an ecosystem of this size.
They can't, which is why the software is increasingly being written by the AI itself. And the financial markets are pricing that capability at a level that completely shatters historical norms.
Which perfectly sets up the most staggering financial news of the day.
Oh, this one is wild.
SpaceX, an aerospace company, is reportedly planning to close a $60 billion acquisition of the AI coding startup Cursor. $60 billion.
What an unbelievable number.
And the timeline they've said is incredibly aggressive. SpaceX wants to close this deal roughly 30 days after going public, with their IPO currently expected on June 12th.
And to signal just how serious this is, there is a $10 billion cash breakup fee if the deal falls through.
A $10 billion breakup fee.
That size is unprecedented. It signals absolute certainty. But to understand the valuation, you have to look under the hood at Cursor's new model, Composer 2.5.
Right, because this isn't just an autocomplete tool that finishes your sentence anymore.
Exactly. Composer 2.5 was trained partly on xAI's Colossus 2 data center, and it has the ability to architect, write, and debug complex multi-file software systems entirely on its own.
And Cursor CEO explicitly noted this model was the catalyst for their integration with SpaceX.
Yes.
But I am going to push back hard on this valuation. $60 billion for a coding assistant. We are talking about a company that builds physical rockets and deploys satellites, buying a software tool for the equivalent of the GDP of a small nation.
Is there a pushback?
Even with Elon Musk's history of massive bets, Is this a stroke of genius vertical integration, or are we just staring at the absolute peak of an AI bubble?
Well, if you look at it as a mere software tool, it's a bubble.
Right.
But if you look at it through the lens of forensic business strategy, it's vertical integration of the means of production.
Explain that. Why does a rocket company want an AI coder?
Because when you are deploying thousands of autonomous satellites in a mesh network and launching rockets that have to make microsecond adjustments in the atmosphere, your software requirements are unimaginably complex. SpaceX isn't buying a tool to help their human engineers type faster. They're buying a self-improving software factory. By owning Cursor, they internalize the ability to generate and iterate mission-critical code at a superhuman scale.
Whoever controls the AI that writes the code controls the future of infrastructure.
Exactly.
But wait, when you fully automate the means of production, what happens when someone slips something toxic onto the factory line?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question.
Because if AI agents are writing and executing all this code at superhuman speed, the security risks of the software supply chain become absolutely catastrophic.
Which brings us to the stark reality check of the day, the GitHub breach.
Right. GitHub just confirmed that roughly 3,800 of its internal repositories were stolen.
And the vector of the attack wasn't some sophisticated zero-day exploit. It was exactly what security researchers have been warning about. An employee installed a poisoned VS Code extension.
Let's clarify what that means. VS Code is a hugely popular text editor used by developers, and extensions that are basically third-party plugins that add extra features like, spell check, but for code.
Right.
In this case, the extension was a Trojan horse. GitHub had to pull the add-on from their marketplace and isolate the infected devices, but the damage is already done.
Over 3,000 repos gone.
Yeah, and a hacker group calling themselves Team PCP claimed responsibility on a cybercrime forum, and they are offering those 4,000 private repos for sale.
But the ransom demand is what makes this so fascinating.
It's incredibly weird to me. The ransom demand is only $50,000. It's like someone successfully robbing Fort Knox, bypassing laser grids and armed guards, and then only asking for enough cash to buy a used sedan.
Exactly. They even threaten to leak the data for free if no one pays.
Right. So are they actually trying to make money, or is this something else?
It is almost certainly a demonstration of capability. By asking for a trivial ransom, they are sending a very loud message to the industry. Your new hyper-automated foundation is structurally unsound.
Because of the agents.
Exactly. And the reason it is unsound has to do with how these new AI agents operate. We are entering an era of vibe coding.
Vibe coding, I love that term. That's when a non-technical user just types a prompt like, build me a weather app, and the AI agent runs off, pulls in whatever tools it needs, and builds it without the human ever looking at a single line of code.
Exactly. And that is where the vulnerability lies.
Because there's no human oversight.
Right. A human engineer might notice if a background extension starts acting strangely or requesting weird permissions, but an autonomous AI agent executing vibe coding operates at lightning speed and blindly trusts its environment.
Oh, wow.
So if a poisoned extension infiltrates that workspace, the agent doesn't pause to critically evaluate it, it just pulls it into the workflow.
Meaning a single Trojanized add-on can instantly infect thousands of autonomous workflows in a matter of seconds. Bingo. So the very speed and autonomy that makes these tools so valuable is exactly what makes them a massive security liability, which naturally points us toward the absolute bedrock of this entire ecosystem.
The compute.
All of these automated agents blindly executing code, processing ambient video from our smart glasses, and powering generative search, it all requires a staggering amount of computing power.
Unimaginable amounts.
And providing that foundational compute requires capital on a scale that only a handful of entities on Earth can command, which is why the Wall Street Journal's report today regarding the OpenAI IPO is really the linchpin to this entire news cycle.
It ties everything together.
The journal's reporting that an OpenAI IPO could happen in weeks or even mere days. They've reportedly had staffers from Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley laying the groundwork behind the scenes for months.
And the timing of this is absolutely no coincidence because OpenAI just dodged a massive legal bullet.
The Elon Musk lawsuit regarding their corporate structure.
Yes. Musk was suing them over their controversial pivot from a nonprofit research lab to a for-profit corporation.
Right, but a 9-person Oakland jury just ruled that the statute of limitations had actually expired before Musk filed his suit.
He's reportedly planning to appeal, but for now, OpenAI dodged the legal roadblock on a pure technicality.
A massive win for them.
Oh, huge. Surviving that lawsuit clears the runway for what will likely be the largest capital event of the decade.
Right.
But the really fascinating part isn't the IPO itself, it's how OpenAI is actively positioning its business model ahead of the public offering.
Right. Sam Altman recently had a fireside chat with Stripe co-founder Patrick Collison, and Altman explicitly framed OpenAI's future as an intelligence meter.
An intelligence meter. The phrasing is incredible.
It really is. It's like they realize they don't want to be in the business of selling individual light bulbs anymore. They want to be the electric company.
Exactly.
They want to charge every other business by the kilowatt for access to raw intelligence through their APIs.
It is the ultimate utility play. They don't just want to sell ChatGPT subscriptions. They want to be the foundational grid for the entire AI economy, much like Amazon Web Services became the foundational grid for cloud computing.
But to be a foundational utility, you have to be trusted as the baseline arbiter of reality.
Which perfectly explains the new verification tools they rolled out alongside the IPO rumors?
Yes. They are adopting the CPPA open standard, which is essentially a cryptographic shipping manifest attached to digital files to prove their origin.
And they are partnering with Google to implement SynthEye.
Right, which embeds an invisible watermark directly into the pixels of an AI-generated image, so it survives screenshots and resizing. They even launched a public tool so anyone can verify if an image came from an OpenAI model.
Just think about the massive consolidation of power we just walked through today.
It's dizzying.
You have Google actively killing traditional exploratory web search to trap users with autonomous agents. You have SpaceX spending $60 billion to internalize the automated coding layer. And you have OpenAI positioning itself to be the metered utility grid powering all of this intelligence, while simultaneously setting the cryptographic standards for what is considered real and what is fake.
It is a profound reshaping of the digital landscape. Let's summarize our autopsy of May 20th, 2026.
Go for it.
We are witnessing the death of the traditional search bar, replaced by real-time generative UI and 247 cloud-based personal agents like Gemini Spark.
Yep.
We see the hardware race escalating as giants push audio-first smart glasses to physically tether those agents to our perception of the real world. We unpacked a $60 billion aerospace acquisition aimed at controlling the autonomous coding layer, while watching the terrifying reality of agent-driven supply chain security unfold with the GitHub breach.
And underlying all of it, OpenAI is days away from an IPO, aiming to be the indispensable utility grid powering this entirely new reality.
It's a massive amount of infrastructure being built overnight.
And I want to leave you, the listener, with this final thought to mull over. If our search queries are no longer exploring a diverse web, but are curated entirely by an agent, and the software we rely on is written autonomously by an agent, and the glasses on our face dictate the audio and video we process, when does the agent stop being a tool you actively use and start being the lens that entirely filters your reality? Who is actually in the driver's seat of your digital life?
That is the pivotal question we all need to be asking right now. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We encourage you to really look closely at the digital infrastructure you interact with every single day and question who is actually holding the keys. Catch you on the next one.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.